What is up, everybody? How are you guys doing? If you like our videos, please subscribe, press the like video, leave us comments. We're here to grow with you. We want to get objective feedback and just give us some thoughts on how things are going with you. My name's HD. I'm the honorary Scouser, and I wanted to take time to reflect on how much Liverpool means to me. How much love have they given me? There's my love sign, not as good as I can make it, but what has it meant to me over time, and how did I become a Liverpool fan? We all have our stories, and I wanted to share mine with everybody. That way, Liverpool fans, we unite, we come together, we share the same stories, and basically it's a brotherhood, fraternity, a family. So without further ado, I'm going to kind of share how I became a Liverpool fan and how this came into fruition. I'm flying high. I don't take Etihad Airlines or Qatar. I'm flying British Airways. We're flying to Liverpool. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my story, how I became a Liverpool fan. Um, when I was growing up, I grew up in Croydon, Surrey, very rough part of town. The local football slash soccer team was Crystal Palace, and it is a rough part of the town where we had to see a lot of the Crystal Palace fans. And at that time, a lot of bigotry, a lot of hatred, a lot of racist names were called to people like myself. And we actually couldn't wear any of our beautiful um, memorabilia. We couldn't wear beautiful hoodies, jackets. We couldn't show our Liverpool pride. So living in Surrey, we were always very hush hush because at that time, we were already minority and we were also looked down upon as being Liverpool fans because back in the day, violence was very high. We had a lot of skinheads, we had a lot of racism, and people would just kill each other based on our skin color. And let alone we were not showing our love for our teams. So growing up in that area, it was very difficult. I got a lot of name calling. It was very hard. But throughout that time, when I was growing up, me and my mates, we became Liverpool fans. And we were little, but we always were in admiration, amazement, in awe of the football Liverpool would play. Game day, match day. We used to have Jimmy Hill. We used to watch him on BBC, and the tune that was always playing for those games was so I remember a lot of those games while growing up, and I just gravitated towards our Liverpool song, which served as a um, kind of a peaceful place when all hell was breaking out around me. And the song we know is from Jerry Allen and the Peacemakers. It is You'll Never Walk Alone. And that song really touched my heart, and it probably touched all of the Liverpool fans, new or old, because that song has been playing for many years. I mean, this song is our song. When we hear that song, we know the YNWA. That's our family. And the song's lyrics were very powerful, very inspiring. Basically, Liverpool served as a family for me. They were something to break the craziness of that era, that time period that we had to live with. We had racism prevalent. We had riots going on in Southall. We had riots in Brixton. I lived pretty close to Brixton. Um, and our parents, God bless them, they came, they were immigrants, but they looked at the whole racism with um, they couldn't do much. We didn't have a voice. Minorities, we didn't have a voice. We were just we were told that this wasn't our country, so we should just be lucky. This is the other country's rules, and we had to abide by them. So we had to endure a lot of names being called to us, and it was very, very emotionally and socially disturbing. And at the same time, we didn't have the same support that we give our kids. We didn't have family support. We didn't have education. Mental health was not a priority at that time. And it was very, very sad. The only thing that me and my mates who were also going through the same struggle, you'll hear a little bit my English accent come out. I'm a Surrey boy. Surrey, obviously, people from Croydon, Surrey at that time, Croydon was considered, somebody made this reference a couple of weeks ago when I was out and about, when they heard I was from Surrey, they said, "Oi, mate, Surrey is basically the New Jersey of America." And I thought that was really funny. So, yeah, grew up in a rough part of town. Croydon, not really looked up highly and on the English map. We were kind of in a very low socioeconomic status. So Liverpool provided me a mental wellness break. It provided me something to look forward to during all the craziness that was going on. So I'll go back to my American accent. So I wanted to do this video to kind of connect. It's a video that's more of a connection video, mental health video, therapy video of how we all became Liverpool fans, or at least how I became a Liverpool fan and how that stuck with me. So I'm gonna just give a little stroll down memory lane, and I have some of my jerseys too that I want to share. Kind of, I associate certain jerseys with certain time periods where Liverpool did well, and then all of a sudden we had our decline. I'll talk about that a little bit, and what stood by me during this time frame. So I was a little kid, and I remember Liverpool being very, very dominant. The all red color, our kit, our uniform was something that I just was gravitated towards. Red is a beautiful color. And after I started to learn about the history of Liverpool, my plane is flying, a little bit of turbulence. So, sorry about that. These flights nowadays, you never know. So when I started learning about the history, Liverpool were part of the Everton Merseyside combination. Liverpool did not have an identity. They were part of Everton, and the Evertonians, there was a dispute. Um, and members of the Liverpool team and specifically the board, they wanted to form their own independence alliance. And so they broke off from the Everton group and they formed Liverpool and started out very slowly, obviously. But one of the things they wanted to distinguish themselves was their kit, and the kit was going to be all red because in their eyes, red is a form of being standing out, dominance, wanted to also scare the opposition by having an all red jersey and all red shorts and all red socks. It was a form of um, showing superiority. That way, the other team would be scared when they looked at everything in red. So, when Liverpool broke up from Everton and were able to form Liverpool initially, they took some of the players with them, that group, and they formed Liverpool Football Club. And over time, the legend grew. And our management, our board was always of the belief to hire from within. So our coaches predominantly were hired from their own, they were all Scousers, and they were hired from within the group because it bred much more uniformity, having Liverpool players um, and Liverpool team members um, be part from the same organization. So Liverpool came to fruition with a lot of their managers, such as Shankly, and then who was considered one of the pioneers for Liverpool, followed by Bob Paisley. So when I was growing up, Liverpool had entered into the European foray. That's when the European, the equivalent basically of the Champions League that we hold now, and also to a certain extent the Europa. That's when Liverpool kind of entered the mainstay, and they showed a lot of promise playing in European football. So when I started watching football, I watched it with a lot of my friends, my mates. We would play football and we started to emulate some of the players. And the players just were so resonating and that you wanted to emulate them because Liverpool had a lot of also international blood. And what I mean by that is, for example, the goalkeeper at that time was Bruce Grobbelaar. Bruce Grobbelaar, even though he looked like he was a white guy, he was actually from Zimbabwe, and he fought in the war for as Zimbabwe as a soldier for Zimbabwe. And his story was very unique. He actually wanted to be a goalkeeper. He was playing in a Canada team, Vancouver Whitecaps. Um, Bob Paisley went over there, saw him, and recruited him. And later on, when Bruce Grobbelaar told his story about how he wanted to get out of the Zimbabwean army because he did not want to be a part of those atrocities. That was very resonating because he talked a lot about the harsh conditions, and a lot of my friends, myself, we could sympathize because we were also subject to some tough times around that time frame. Also, they had a strong connection with a lot of Irish players. My accent's going to change again. Ireland, Ronnie Whelan, great Irish player, great Irish player. Um, and then they had another striker, winger, Craig Johnston, long curly hair. He was from Australia. Amazing striker, a lot of pace. He's actually the founder of the Predator boot. And being a foreigner himself, he had kind of shared how different it was to be in England. Another player that I remember vividly, Jan Molby, who was a uh, Dutch um, Scouser. And that's why Liverpool has such a huge Dutch connection. Netherlands, Holland, whatever you want to call it. You know, I apologize. He's a Dane from Denmark, Netherlands, Holland, different part of the world, but yeah, very similar. But Jan Molby was very inspirational to people like myself because he wasn't a conventional looking athlete. He was different and he played different, very different flair. And then at that time, we had a lot of Scottish influence. The defense was anchored by Alan Hansen, who was Scotland's captain. Whenever the first jersey I bought was Alan Hansen's jersey. Um, he was a he was the poor man's Virgil van Dijk. Now looking back at it, because obviously the training methods, the fitness level wasn't as what it was, but if you could kind of make an analogy, it was him. And then our other striker was Kenny Dalglish, King Kenny. Who can forget him? King Kenny was also from Scotland. So there was a lot of I guess, immigrants on the team. They were not particularly Englishmen. So that was very, very refreshing for somebody like myself because we at that time did not, due to the troubling times at that point, we didn't gravitate towards English players because we looked at them as kind of being not so friendly towards us. So we supported teams that had more immigrants or even different parts of England that weren't necessarily English. And the his striking counterpart was the one and only Ian Rush, who was from Wales. And Ian Rush was one of the greatest goal scorers that Liverpool has ever seen. And Liverpool's legacy was cemented, or it was on the high trajectory that it was already on. But when this combination of Ian Rush, Kenny Dalglish, Craig Johnston were combined, it was a unstoppable force. And one of the memories I have when I was a little kid was watching Liverpool win the double. And at that time, the FA Cup was looked at in very, very high regard. They didn't have this many games that we're playing now, and the FA Cup was a huge part of the culture. And Liverpool, for whatever reason, were unable to win the FA Cup. It was just one of their Achilles heels that they could not overcome the hump, as we say. So I remember me and my mates, the time when we started really getting into footy, as we say, was around 1987, 88, that 86 time frame. And I remember Liverpool and Everton going head to head for the Premier League and also the FA Cup. And the FA Cup was a big fish at that point. I remember vividly Liverpool having to beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge to win the English Premier League. At that time, it wasn't called the English Premier League. They were just having Division One, Division Two, Division Threes, Division Four. And Liverpool, from a great pass from Jim Beglin, who headed it to Ronnie Whelan, I believe, or I believe it was Jim Beglin. Ronnie Whelan went for a shot, was blocked. I think Jim Beglin at that point headed it or kicked it up front, and it ended up in Kenny Dalglish's path, who was making a way run to the goal, and he chested it and he volleyed it in. That was the historic year when Kenny Dalglish was appointed the player coach of Liverpool. So it was very, very historic. So Liverpool snatched the title basically from Everton. And Everton at that time had some great players. I remember Gary Lineker, who is a basically the equivalent of a Hall of Fame soccer player, football player, who is an English icon who led England to many, many wins in the World Cup. So Everton was a powerhouse, not that very different from what they are now. One of the uh, issues that Everton are so poor is their front office, poor management. They've had multiple coaches, which as a Liverpool fan I love because I'm not a big fan of Everton. Um, but we at that time won that Premier League. And then we won the FA Cup. And we also beat who else? Everton, which was great. But it was a struggle. That game was a struggle. We had a lot of jitters coming into the game. I remember that game. Me and my mate watched it. I was probably, I don't even know. I remember 8 or 7 or 9. It's been so long, but we watched that game together, and Liverpool were down 1-0 halftime. I remember Gary Lineker. It was a great pass from Reed, I believe. I don't have the footage behind me, but I remember it's a great pass from Reed on his own, probably 20 to 30 yards if it was an NFL game. And he made a pinpoint pass to Gary Lineker. Gary Lineker, with his speed, was able to control the ball, shot it. Grobler saved it. Bruce Grobler was a character. This guy was you have to be a character, a different type of personality to be in goal. And he saved the first one. The deflection came out, and Gary Lineker pounced. And it was 1-0 at halftime. Uh, Liverpool were shaky again. Second half, the skeletons, the boogeyman of Liverpool not winning the FA Cup was starting to ring loudly. Bruce Grobbler made a great save from Graham Sharp, but him and Beglin got into it over Beglin not passing the ball back. It was a big misunderstanding. Beglin and him were just arguing on the sideline. It was not a good look at all. And Bruce Grobbler pushed him. And it was a big, big media thing. Later on, they just kind of hashed it out. But at that time, this was happening on live TV, and Liverpool looked shaky, and we couldn't we couldn't break that drought we were going through during these whole games, whole Liverpool's stats. There was one thing that was kept constant. If Ian Rush scored a goal, Liverpool never lost. And so that mantra held pretty much true till the following couple of years when they did lose when Rushy scored. But Rush got a great pass in the second half, and he was able to guide the goal home. Um, it was a great pass from Jan Molby. I remember it. Neville Southall was Everton's goalkeeper at that time, but he could not play in the FA Cup, so they had a backup who was a great keeper, Bobby Mims. I remember he made some great saves, but Rush got the through ball. Bobby Mims came out. Rush went around him and trickled it in. And I remember Craig Johnston trying to take credit for it by pushing it through the line. And it was Rush's goal. And that's when we got the wind up ourselves. A few minutes after that, um, again, Jan Molby. Jan Molby had a career game, and he set up Craig Johnston, and we were at 2-1. And that's when we were really, really doing well. Liverpool was flying high, pressure was coming in, and we were basically um, wanted to show my beautiful. We gotta sit up straight on this flight, or they're gonna kick me out. And Liverpool added another goal. It was a great goal, another through pass from Ronnie Whelan this time, and Liverpool scored that goal. Rush scored 3-1. He was on the verge of scoring a hat trick. I want to keep this down because I want to see immediately LFC sign. And he was on the verge of scoring a hat trick, but Bobby Miss Sims made a great save. He would have been one of the few players to have a hat trick in the FA Cup. But Liverpool won 3-1. And I remember that day very vividly. We got that the gorilla, the monkey off our back, and Liverpool were able to win 3-1. A couple of weeks of after that, speculation came out, or reports came out that Liverpool were losing Ian Rush. Ian Rush wanted to play for Juventus, and Juventus made a bid. Liverpool accepted him, but Ian Rush departed. But it was not a long-term departure. He did come back. In the meantime, I remember Liverpool making some brilliant moves after that time frame. I mean, they went from strength to strength. Liverpool signed John Barnes, another legend, Jamaican, somebody we loved as a minority. We loved this guy. This guy played like a Brazilian. This is the time when Brazil was at their peak. Brazil was the Brazilian players, Zico, Socrates, um, all the stars, the Pele hype. And John Barnes was a legend, stuff that he did. Now, ironically, Liverpool signed Ian Rush's replacement, who looked like him. And it was crazy. And he was a player called um, John Aldrich. And if you hear some of the podcasts, he's somebody who does podcasts for the Red Men. Sometimes he'll be a guest presenter or a guest speaker, but he looked just like Ian Rush, and he was actually a Scouser. So they filled up one Scouser, well, a Welshman, with somebody who's a Scouser, who actually was able to keep the glory of Liverpool. And then they retooled the midfield. Liverpool's midfield was getting old. Craig Johnston, to the surprise of everybody, he resigned, retired, left Liverpool because he went back to Australia. His sister was sick, so he took care of her. So Liverpool had all these major changes that needed to be done. And they went ahead and signed Newcastle's Peter Beardsley, who was an amazing striker. He was very quick, very smart, an absolute dynamo. And that pairing of him, Barnes, and Aldrich ran rampant for many, many years. Now, after these players start getting old, just like anything in life, declines happen, father time kicks in. But this is the time as a Liverpool fan, we were we could never have predicted it. We went from being the top dog to not at the bottom, but changes came drastically. And what happened was our players started getting old. Liverpool still continued to hire managers from within their well, but a lot of tragedies happened there. Liverpool was a part of the disaster in the Hillsborough disaster, and the effect of the Hillsborough disaster, where 97 people died. We'll never forget you. We'll never forget you guys. The souls, our Liverpool family. Initially, that inspection was by the magistrate constable. They ruled it on unruly Liverpool fans when it was the mistake of the constable. And that weighed heavily on Kenny Dalglish. And Kenny Dalglish had to step down. Liverpool's policy is always hiring people from within, and the next person up was Graham Souness. Graham Souness was a fiery Scot. He did make some signings, but this was a tumultuous period in the Liverpool tenure, coupled with the fact that Man U, who were fairly inconsistent while I was growing up, had a manager called Ron Atkinson who stepped down, and they went to somebody called Alex Ferguson, who changed the whole landscape of the Premier League, in my opinion, from his moves to his visionary thinking. He was a Scotsman. He started to figure out that the only way to compete with big teams is to start hiring or recruiting players from abroad. And this is where Man U started going up and Liverpool started going down because we didn't have that visionary thought process or visionary thinking. Liverpool's big signings didn't pan out. Our players started getting old. The infrastructure wasn't good. And this is when Alex Ferguson started to get players like Eric Cantona from France, who was so gifted, so gifted. Scholes, Schmeichel and goalkeeper, another phenomenal signing later on, Ronaldo. We all know about Ronaldo, able to get him early. Ryan Giggs, um, Ruud van Nistelrooy, and the list goes on. Liverpool didn't. Liverpool were relying on the academy too much, and they didn't splurge. That's when our futures, our landscape got changed a lot after Alex Ferguson. I wanted to share some of my jerseys and I wanted to kind of talk about them and kind of talk about what those jerseys remind me of during my whole uh um obviously I could have more, but I went to these key jerseys were important in my time frame, so I can kind of I'll talk about some key players around this time frame. So the first jersey I wanted to talk about was this one, the old school one. Crown Paints was um the sponsor. Crown Paints is no longer the sponsor, but this was one of the retro jerseys that I remember. I like the Umbro logo. Umbro, not much in the US. However, it's a big, strong European brand. That jersey reminds me of the 80s, that time frame, what I mentioned. That was the away kit, one of the vintage, and on the back there are no um players' names. You didn't have players' names back in the day. England football was very vanilla. It was a lot different. There was no social media. There was no um me star. We didn't need to know their names. So it was a true embodiment of having there's no I in team. That era was the time when Liverpool were very dominant, very, I mean, they won the champions, the European Cup when they beat, I believe it was Juventus, or Roma, I believe. And that Roma game, I believe, is the one we won in penalties when Bruce Grobbler did the wobbly knees to um, basically slow or get in the head of the penalty kick taker, and it worked. And Liverpool won the European League that year. All right. So the next jersey that I'm gonna go to is this one right here. I don't know if you can see it very well. And this reminds me of the Steven Gerrard era and the Steven Gerrard and the Miracle, the Istanbul game. Um, this was the Steven Gerrard year. Steven Gerrard was a Scouser, an amazing player, known for his long range goals, hardworking, a very loyal Scouser, a legend, Captain Gerrard, and they were able to win quite a bit of accolades under Rafael Benitez. However, they were always clashing against teams like Man U, which was a powerhouse. They were clashing against teams like Arsenal. Arsenal had Thierry Henry. Um, that was a very strong team as well. But Steven Gerrard brought Liverpool back into relevance. Um, the time that Steven Gerrard had is sometimes remembered for his mistake against Chelsea when he slipped. Liverpool were on a clear trajectory to win the Premier League, and he slipped, and Chelsea was able to recover the ball, and they scored. So that is a little bit of a damage on his legacy, but no doubt Stevie Gerrard was the man, a true Scouser, one of their own, and pride for Liverpool. Next jersey I'm going to go to is this one. This jersey reminds me of the time when we had Coutinho. Hopefully, you guys can see it. Coutinho. It was also a good time in our history, but we weren't able to win much championships. We didn't have the infrastructure to to get good players. The cap wasn't handled very well. Um, Coutinho was a great player, but we just were not at that level where we could compete with some of the big teams. We were top 10, but we were the equivalent, let's say, of maybe Tottenham now. We were good, but we weren't that good. We were kind of in purgatory, where you're around, but we weren't very relevant when it came to the big boys. Um, at that time, we we were we had changes, ownership group had changed, some of the decisions, some of the talent wasn't the most ideal, and and to tell you the truth, Liverpool always had a hard team, has a hard time, especially during then, for teams to come play for Liverpool. You really, really want to play for Liverpool. Um, Unfortunately, Liverpool are not the number one choice for a lot of European athletes because unfortunately the city isn't as lucrative as, let's say, Manchester or Tottenham or even Arsenal, which is in the hub of London. And as we know, London is where the money is, where the action is. So a lot of the players, especially from Europe, were gravitating towards um, Tottenham, Arsenal, and even Manchester. Ronaldo, Cantona, they wanted to play, and this is where um, Alex Ferguson was a visionary. He was able to recruit them, he was able to hold them down, and he was able to cater to their needs. So that definitely was a time period in as a Liverpool fan that we kind of look back and go, there were some hit and misses where we signed some wrong players, um, long beyond their tooth, as we say, and we really we didn't get relegated, but there were some times when Man U fans and even Man U players, Ryan Giggs especially, said that can never happen to Man U as a team, because Man U's infrastructure is too good. But Man U, ha ha ha, look at you guys now. But I digress. Man U fans, you feel the pain we feel. Good, hate Man U. I don't shouldn't hate anybody. We should never hate anybody, but Man U fans are awful. Everton fans are awful. I hate Man U over Everton because they've got more trophies than us. Next jersey, kind of the Steven Gerrard era. But I equate this one to, let's see, make it this one. This one's the Warrior jersey. I love this jersey. This is the one Steven Gerrard wore during those times, those games where we were very relevant. Um, I also look at this jersey as the jersey where we had Sturridge and also Luis Suarez. And Luis Suarez was a Uruguayan legend. They formed a deadly combination. Some of his goals were amazing. That was one great signing that we did make. However, Luis Suarez was a how can I say it? Very amazing player, but a very controversial player. And he did some strange things. As a Liverpool fan, I cannot condone them, but as a Liverpool fan, he was an amazing player. One of the incidents that he is known for or has been known for was biting people's ears during corners, which I don't know, or biting their shoulders. I think it was biting their shoulders more than their ears, actually. And another incident which caught national attention was he called an Arsenal player, got his name off the top of my head. He called him a monkey. and it was an African American player. And this happened during a game. The African American player, an Arsenal player, brought it up to the ref's attention. I believe Luis Suarez um, said said that he did call him that word because in his country, a lot of the Spanish countries, they do not look favorably on African American black color, and it sparked a national outrage. Luis Suarez was suspended initially. He said it's just part of the culture. That's we don't mean it in a bad way. It's just that, he called him a monkey, and um, he's got in a lot of trouble initially. A lot of Liverpool legends, such as Jamie Carragher, actually defended Luis Suarez, saying, he didn't do anything wrong. It's just a part of their culture. And obviously that is big time. That's wrong. You cannot, and that's the type of racism bigotry I went through growing up. And hearing something like that, I totally side with the Arsenal player, Arsenal team. Luis Suarez apologized, but that was a very major controversy. It was a ding in that Luis Suarez's image. But as a player, some of the goals he scored, he was really an interesting player, very fiery. A lot of Uruguayan players, currently we have Darwin Nunez. He's very similar to that in terms of his intensity. But Luis Suarez, I remember him, he had a wicked overbite. And I remember his front teeth, they were so forward that he just so retruded like this. And his teeth are so squared up, and he had such a unique look. It was just and you would think with all this money that these people have and all the resources, they can get their teeth fixed. So after that time period came Jurgen Klopp's era. And thank God for Jurgen Klopp. We really caught uh, the right person at the right time for the job. Jurgen Klopp came in from the very first day. He had said that he's gonna put his mark on the team, and he wasn't bullshitting around. He was true to what he said. He went ahead and changed Liverpool to become a competing force. And not only did we have to deal with now Man U, Arsenal, but Manchester City crept along with their managerial group. It's all money. Everything now 24/7. The world is all money. The Saudi group came in. Um, the Etihad was formed. Pep came into the mix. Pep was able to recruit all of these good players. Um, Sergio, Haaland, Foden, Grealish. Um, Off the top of my head, I mean, the list goes on and on. And City became a powerhouse, and they were winning the league year in, year out. Um, it was very dominant. There was only one team that could compete, and that was Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. And that's because Jurgen Klopp was a visionary as well. He said that we are going to fight fire with fire. And City were winning so many Premier League trophies, what have you, in a row. And Jurgen Klopp came in and changed that and put a stop to that. And we all saw that game against Barcelona when Liverpool were down 3-0. They lost 3-0 in Barcelona with a star-studded lineup of Messi and Suarez, who was playing in Barcelona at that time. I mean, Messi by himself is a handful. You've got all these other supporting cast. So it was a foregone conclusion in the Spanish media that Liverpool were going to lose and Barcelona was going to win the title. But Liverpool came back in Anfield 4-3. 4-3. It never even in the wildest scenario can you imagine 4-3 storyline And that's all because Jurgen Klopp and the Kop wheeled them to success. There is no way that this team, any other team, would have wilted. And that final play from Trent Alexander, who took that corner quickly. And when we scored, I forgot the name of the player. I know it wasn't Alexander. It wasn't the Ox. I don't. I if somebody can text me or if somebody can put it in the comment section, I forgot the name. I off the top of my head. I am doing this live. I'm not. There's no script here. There's nothing in the background. I'm just kind of telling you my memories. Um, it's unparalleled, and Liverpool won 4-3. That was a unprecedented, historic game for us. Jurgen Klopp also was able to finally break City's dominance and win the Premier League. I believe it was 1819 or 1920, the year of the COVID, when the COVID hit us and it decimated us. And Jurgen Klopp actually brought us a title. It was sad that we were not able to win a title when the stadium was full, but we still won. So I'm gonna come to my last jersey or a pretty recent jersey. This one is a favorite of mine. I've always loved the green one. This is during Jurgen Klopp's last year. It's of my guy Darwin. Um, this was a year that was very interesting. I flew out to Liverpool in hopes of them winning the Premier League. We were on top for pretty much the whole time. We won the Carabao Cup in January with all these injuries. We played Chelsea. We had Klopp's kids play. We were so close to we were on pace to win the quadruple, which was unheard of. And I don't know what happened. I freaking do not know what the fuck happened. We were number one, number two Premier League. We were in the semi or quarters of the FA Cup. We were playing Man U in Old Trafford. We were up 2-1. We had the ball. We were rolling. Kwanzaa makes this bad pass. Um, Bruno Fernandes gets the ball at around halfway mark. Kelleher, I don't know what the frick you were doing, bro. Why you were outside of your line, and Bruno Fernandes scored, and that game went into extra time. Liverpool lost, and it was just like, huh? What? And then our stars came back because Liverpool have always been decimated by injuries, and lost the Europa. Atalanta beat us, and I couldn't believe what was going on. I flew out to see them play Crystal Palace. We needed to win the game because we had lost to Atalanta. Atalanta probably on Thursday went to Liverpool, see him play Crystal Palace on Sunday, and we lost. We had so many chances. So it turned in, and then a couple of weeks before the Carabao, Jurgen Klopp announced out of nowhere that he was resigning basically, and he was done with coaching, and his reason was burning out, and it was understandable. He had contributed so much to the club. He had poured in so much energy. He had given it all for Liverpool Football Club over I believe it was 6 or 8 years. And you could see the man put his heart out on his sleeve every single time. I mean, the passion he showed, and that's why Liverpool took to Jurgen Klopp so much. Um, especially with his fist pumps. at the end where the cop would get riled up. I mean, that was legendary, and he is not forgotten because of how passionate this man was about Liverpool. And we Liverpool fans, the Scousers and the honorary Scousers like myself, are always appreciative of how much he's done. So, to the current moment, um, Arnie Slot doing a phenomenal job. The Liverpool coach from Feyenoord has been slowly but steadily putting his mark on the team. Not a flashy guy, very business oriented, doesn't wear his emotions on the sleeve. I think he's a great balance to what we needed. As much as Jurgen Klopp was amazing, his he used to say his style was smash mouth rock music type soccer football excitement, meaning it's all go 24/7 on the pitch. The only problem was we conceded so many goals to so many teams early on. We'd have a 3-1 lead and you'd blink and it would be 3-3 and the other team would score a winning goal. And we were so reliant on late minute heroics. So Arnie Slot has come in, kind of taken a different approach, kind of played or kind of made it more of a priority to play more calculated football, have more ball possession, make sure that you're not giving away too much ball possession, make sure that you're not taking unruly chances per se. And it's been labeled as slot ball. The only negative I would say, I don't really have a negative. I'm a Liverpool fan. I will be to the day I die. I bleed red. Merseyside is red. My kids are Liverpool fans, and hopefully I can pass on this to my grandkids. The only negative I would say it's a little bit boring sometimes, but that's okay. As long as we win the trophy, boring is good. Liverpool, today is January the 30th, 2025. We are on top of the Premier League. We're playing Bournemouth. Bournemouth is not easy at all. They beat Nottingham Forest, I think 5-0. So they are no slouch. We're playing them in Bournemouth. But right now, January 30th, 2025, Liverpool are on top of the Premier League. We are on top of the Champions League. We have qualified to the round of 16. We will be not playing the first game in the knockout stage, and we have a very favorable um, side of the draw. I was trying to find the word draw. A very favorable side of the draw. You know, obviously City always fucking scares me. I hate City. Pep, you can never count City out. They are the champion. They have the heart of the champion. The usual suspects have made it. Real Madrid, as much as they were under fire, Real Madrid's pulled up their act. They are back their winning ways. They scare me. Arsenal are Arsenal. So as of this moment, you know, we got to live in the moment. City are in, Liverpool are in the round of 16. We don't have to play in the first round, but we're on top of the Champions League. Furthermore, we are still in the Carabao Cup. We're in the semi-finals. We are down 1-0 um, to Tottenham, but I think that was because of a stupid ref decision. And we have a chance. We're in the semi-finals. And we also are in the FA Cup. We're going to be playing, I believe, is it Plymouth, Argyle? So in the fourth round. So right now, January 30th, we are in all four competitive tournaments. We're still alive. Obviously, the Premier League is the big one. The Premier League and the Champions League are the big fish, as we say. Um, but we're still alive. I mean, the quadruple could be possible. Liverpool's weaknesses that I've seen over time as I come to a conclusion here is we are indecisive with in the US, we call them free agents, but we're indecisive with our contract situation. We've got three big fish out there and we haven't circled them in, we haven't penciled them in. They are Virgil van Dijk, our captain, generational talent, Netherlands captain. He's still waiting on his contract. I have no clue what is happening behind the scenes. We're all in limbo. Any of these reports that you read on YouTube or like people breaking news down, if it's not official, don't believe them. Don't believe them. Don't. I'm giving you first hand knowledge, first hand insight that this is all just bullshit. I see a lot of these um, reports. Liverpool agreed to 70 million for this player, but it's just all clickbait. So please don't fall into that. Um, the next player, Trent. I have heard conflicting reports again. Somebody says that Trent wants 500,000 pounds a week and he wants to be the captain. I would give the man his money. And that's one thing over time I've seen with Liverpool management. They are reluctant to um, give people their money early on time. And Salah, I mean, Salah just passed here, Henry, with 51 goals. Um, I mean, he is a player that you cannot have him walk out of the building, and yet they're dragging their feet. That's my concern with Liverpool all these years, that they rely on too much of their homegrown talent. They are so they underestimate that playing for Liverpool is an honor, don't get me wrong, but when you compare some of the other big teams in the market, they like the big names like Arsenal, Man U, Man City, even Tottenham and Chelsea. And that's another team I forgot to bring up my list. Chelsea is in London, much more desirable location than us. People would rather play for Chelsea sometimes than us. Liverpool, it's an honor being a Scouser, being a Liverpool fan. To be a Liverpool fan is an honor. And it's not for everybody because there's sometimes we do business differently, we think differently, we act differently, but it's an honor being a Scouser. That's the only knock on Liverpool. Our management drags its feet. We see deficiencies, but we don't come ahead. I'll be speaking for a long time. I wanted to share my journey. This is a heartfelt journey of how I became a Liverpool fan. Please subscribe. We're new, we're growing. I want to hear why you, the fans, are Liverpool fans. How did you get into being a Liverpool fan? What was it about this beautiful team, this beautiful family that made you gravitate towards this team and not, let's say, Everton or Man U or Man City? What was it about Liverpool? Why do you bleed red? Why do you favor Liverpool? Please press like, please subscribe. Um, Tell me how we can improve. I mean, if we don't get any feedback, how will we know? But my job here is to provide honest content, honest take. Everything is just raw, organic. There's nothing in the back. Everything that I presented, talked to you about was from the bottom of my heart. I really wish everybody a safe weekend. We're playing Bournemouth. Um, as we say, up the Reds. And please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, thumbs down so we can do better. Anyway, as we say, up the Reds, F City, F Man U. I don't really say F Everton because they stink anyway. F Chelsea, fuck Arsenal, Nottingham Forest are poo poo. Who else? Tell me who you don't like. Tell me which teams that you don't care for as a Liverpool fan. I'm dying to hear from you. I mean, I don't hate teams, but I don't really like them. I don't like the chants that they do against Liverpool. But anyway, that's me rambling. HD, check it out. You're a Punjabi Scouser. Peace.